need to get upriver.
Where?
Into Burma.
Burma's a war zone.
Up the Salween River is our best alternative.
I can't.
Rambo from 2008 marked a brutal and uncompromising return of one of cinema's most iconic action characters, bringing John Rambo back to the screen after years of silence. This film did not attempt to modernize the character with flashy technology or exaggerated heroics. Instead, it stripped everything down to raw survival, violence, and moral exhaustion. The story presents Rambo as a man who has withdrawn from the world, living quietly in Thailand near the Burmese border, far from the politics and wars that once defined his life. He survives by catching snakes and offering boat rides along dangerous river routes. Choosing isolation over involvement, John Rambo is no longer the talkative soldier audiences once knew. He is older, heavier with trauma, and almost entirely silent, communicating more through actions than words. The film treats him as a ghost of past wars, someone who has seen so much violence that peace feels unnatural. His face and body carry the weight of decades of combat, making him feel less like a movie hero and more like a relic that the world refuses to let rest. This version of Rambo is not searching for redemption or glory. He simply wants to be left alone. The setting plays a major role in shaping the tone of the story. Burma is portrayed as a land trapped in endless civil conflict, ruled by cruelty and fear. The military dictatorship's brutality against civilians creates an atmosphere of constant tension and hopelessness. Villages are destroyed, people are executed without mercy, and suffering is normalized. This harsh backdrop reinforces the film's message that some parts of the world remain untouched by diplomacy or compassion. Making Rambo's presence feel tragically appropriate rather than heroic, the plot is set in motion when a group of Christian missionaries approaches Rambo, asking him to guide them upriver into Burma so they can deliver aid and medical support to suffering villagers. Rambo initially refuses, warning them about the dangers and the merciless nature of the soldiers controlling the region. His refusal is not born from selfishness, but from experience. He knows that good intentions do not protect anyone in a war zone. However, after repeated requests and internal conflict, Rambo agrees to take them, setting events into motion that cannot be undone. The missionary group includes men and women driven by faith and compassion, particularly a woman whose calm empathy contrasts sharply with Rambo's hardened worldview. Their belief that kindness can exist even in the darkest places challenges Rambo's deeply ingrained understanding of violence. He does not share their optimism, but something about their conviction forces him to confront his own emotional detachment. This quiet tension between belief and realism runs beneath the surface throughout the film. Once the missionaries reach Burma, the story quickly descends into horror. They are captured by Burmese soldiers, and the film does not shy away from depicting extreme violence and cruelty. Entire villages are massacred, prisoners are tortured, and innocence is destroyed without hesitation. These scenes are deliberately uncomfortable, designed to remove any sense of entertainment from violence and instead present it as ugly, senseless, and devastating. The film makes it clear that this is not violence for spectacle, but violence as reality. When news of the missionaries' disappearance reaches Thailand, a group of mercenaries is hired to rescue them. These men are skilled, armed, and confident, but they lack true understanding of the environment they are entering. They track Rambo down and ask him to guide them into Burma. At first, Rambo refuses again, insisting that the mission is pointless and suicidal. Yet, the pull of unfinished business and moral obligations slowly draws him back into the world he tried to escape. As Rambo joins the rescue mission, the film transforms into a relentless survival story. The mercenaries' confidence quickly fades as they encounter the overwhelming brutality of the Burmese army. Their weapons and tactics are no match for the sheer cruelty and numbers they face. One by one, they fall, reinforcing the idea that experience, not firepower, determines survival. Rambo's skills, sharpened by years of war, suddenly become essential. When Rambo finally unleashes his full combat abilities, the violence escalates to an extreme level. The film's final act is infamous for its intensity, showing Rambo using heavy machine guns, blades, and raw force to annihilate enemy soldiers. These scenes are graphic and relentless, emphasizing that Rambo is not fighting for heroism but for necessity. He becomes a force of nature, not a man, reflecting the terrifying efficiency of someone shaped entirely by war. Despite the overwhelming action, the emotional core remains focused on the cost of violence. Rambo's expression during combat is not triumphant. It is empty and mechanical. Every kill feels like a reminder of the life he can never escape. The rescue of the surviving missionaries does not bring celebration or joy, only relief mixed with sorrow. Survival comes at a price, and the film makes sure that price is felt. The cast supports this grounded and serious tone. Sylvester Stallone's portrayal of Rambo is restrained and physical, relying more on presence than dialogue. His performance communicates pain, exhaustion, and buried rage without unnecessary explanation. The supporting cast, including the missionaries and mercenaries, serves to highlight different responses to violence, from idealism to arrogance to fear. None of them overshadow Rambo. Instead, they orbit around his silent gravity. The film's pacing is deliberate, building tension slowly before exploding into chaos. Long stretches of quiet reflection and environmental storytelling contrast sharply with sudden, shocking violence. This structure mirrors Rambo's internal state, calm on the surface, but explosive when provoked. The jungle itself becomes a character, hiding dangers and offering no mercy to outsiders. Rambo's release in 2008 felt significant because it rejected the trend of glossy action films. Instead of fast cuts and exaggerated stunts, it delivered a grounded and brutal experience that divided audiences but stayed true to the character's origins. The film arrived at a time when war stories were becoming more complex and morally ambiguous, and it leaned heavily into that discomfort rather than avoiding it. The trailer for the film reflected this approach by focusing on atmosphere rather than flashy action. It emphasized Rambo's isolation, the harshness of the environment, and the looming threat of violence. Brief glimpses of combat were used not to excite, but to warn viewers of what kind of experience awaited them. The tone promised a darker, more serious chapter in Rambo's story, setting expectations clearly. What makes Rambo from 2008 stand out is its refusal to romanticize war. There are no speeches about honor or patriotism, only survival and consequence. Rambo is not presented as a savior, but as a last resort in a world where humanity has failed. His actions save lives, but they also reinforce the tragic reality that peace often requires violence when compassion is ignored. By the end of the film, Rambo returns to isolation, but something has shifted. He is no longer completely disconnected from the world. The final moments suggest a quiet acceptance rather than resolution, implying that while the past cannot be erased, it can be faced. Rambo does not find peace, but he finds direction, walking toward a future that remains uncertain. Ultimately, Rambo 2008 serves as a grim reflection on violence, aging, and the inescapable scars of war. It honors the character's legacy by refusing to soften his reality, delivering a story that is as emotionally heavy as it is physically brutal. Rather than closing Rambo's journey with triumph, it leaves audiences with an uneasy understanding of what it truly means to survive decades of conflict.